water used to be considered a renewable resource, and until recent times, there was never a question of water scarcity. I'm from a country where we have a desert, but it's highly populated, Rajasthan. 1 inch of rain, and yet they learned how to live with 1 inch of rain. And my valley, up in the mountains, the Doon Valley, we receive 4,000 millimeters of rain in a year, all of it in 3 months. People adapted, plants adapted to the rain they got. So deserts were arid areas, rainforests were wet areas. But we've managed to create an absolute scarcity. There isn't enough water on the planet now. The first is we refused to think of how all life needs water, and desertification of soils is a very, very big issue. And a lot of people indicate that what looks like a conflict in Sudan between religions is in reality a conflict over disappearing water of the Lake Chad. We can only reverse this process if we understand how we got there. I think the first problem was that the Wild West of the United States became the model increasingly of water management, where water could be stolen from the mountains and taken to deserts and to create cities like Los Angeles and the big agribusiness farms. These mega cities have a huge water appetite. After all, every time you go for a pee, you need 13 liters of water. Of course, we don't run out of water if we allow it to recycle on and on and on. But if we take it from one place where it belongs to another place where it doesn't, the place where it belongs runs out of water. And this became the basis of building large dams, long-distance diversions, which is now on the basis of assuming you can create a water trade and move water around according to where money lies. The second problem was that with the age of fossil fuels, humanity learned how to produce everything with huge amounts of toxics. And all those toxics eventually had to find some place to be disposed. Water became the dumping ground of all the toxic waste generated by an industrial society. And I think if we have to reverse this process, first we have to be deeply aware that we live in a water cycle and we have to maintain it. And linked with this, of course, is care for water, conservation of water. And conservation is not just a trivial job of doing a little bit of water harvesting, but it's a job of redefining efficiency and productivity of economic systems in terms of how much water they waste or abuse or how much they protect. I'll give you an example. Recently in Italy, in Rome, there was this big food summit. And the solution was green revolution. Now, of course, all of us who work for ecology work for a green revolution. But what is referred to as the green revolution in international policy discussions is introducing chemicals into farming. Chemical fertilizers destroy water in many, many ways. To produce the same amount of food, they now require 10 times more water because you have to dissolve these toxic chemicals. Then the soil to which they are applied becomes desertified. It has no water holding capacity. It ends up being a soil without water life. But what is worse, these chemical fertilizers emit nitrogen oxides, which are 300 times more lethal as a greenhouse gas that is changing the climate, leading to more drought, more floods, and more disruption of the water cycle. Chemical agriculture uses 70% of the planet's water and leaves what water goes out of chemical farms as polluted waste. By promoting ecological, organic food, we reduce 70% water use. We simultaneously protect our glaciers because we don't contribute to global warming, and we create water security. But that reversal means we start thinking differently how we measure productivity. Today we measure productivity in terms of how few people are involved in production. We have to measure productivity in terms of how little water went into production. You referred to India as the world's largest democracy. The rural communities are refusing to move into the cities because they know not only will they increase their footprint 700 times, their ecological footprint, their standard of living will be much worse. They'll have to go and make a living collecting garbage. They'll have to make a living with errant short-term jobs. Some of the biggest movements of our democracy right now is on the defense of land and water and the right to continue to live in village India. One of the biggest myths of our times is that the movement of people from rural areas, from the countryside to the cities, is a natural phenomena and an inevitable phenomena. No one leaves their home if life is livable. They are pushed out of their homes by making life unlivable. And you talked about the Italian migration from the south to the northern industrial area, but there's another huge migration into the Americas, into Argentina. When the new factory is created in Bengal for making the Tata car, which has Fiat involvement, the peasants have been saying no, and there's been shootings and killings. Democracy is saying we want to live on the land. Just outside Delhi and just outside Mumbai, where land is being taken over to make these cities grow in a very artificial way, because real estate has become the best investment in today's world, the peasants are refusing to move. And while the democratic voice is saying we want to live on the land is our mother, and no matter how many billions of rupees you're willing to pay us, the appropriation of land, the transfer of land from agriculture to urban is a very violent, coercive, dictatorial process. It's done through law. It's done through passage of acts like a crazy act in India called the Special Economic Zone Act, which has been brought from China. And democracy is succeeding to reverse these dictatorships. This Special Economic Zone Act had to be changed because of movements, because of the work we did over the last year.